So is this video going to be specifically for Halloween week?
Well, it's kind of spooky, so I guess so, yeah. So happy Halloween in a week, whenever this video goes up. When it comes to making movies, it's very often the case that the difference between a success and a flop is how it is marketed. Something B-movie auteur William Castle knew all too well, which is presumably why one of his movies featured a giant flying skeleton that tried to attack his audience.
Right, so who is this William Castle you speak of?
Well, he's a B-movie legend, and he's noted as being the favourite filmmaker of some like the most influential and famous directors today, such as Robert Zemeckis of Forrest Gump fame, and John Waters of that one episode of The Simpsons fame.
Ding dong, classic. I mean, that says it all, doesn't it?
And his name is synonymous with very cheap but wildly successful B-movies, usually in the horror genre. And this success saw him serving as an inspiration to none other than Alfred fucking Hitchcock for Psycho. Yes, that Psycho, after Hitchcock noted the success of one of Castle's earlier movies and went, holy shit, you could film a film on a budget and make a crap ton of money if you market it just right. And I believe there is a video on Today I Found Out talking about how the marketing for Psycho revolved around the fact that no one was allowed to know what the ending was. I think Hitchcock bought all the copies of the book, so go check out their video on that to hear more about it, because I wrote it. You know what, they're good guys. Give me some views. They're only on 2.4 million subs, they need it.
So you said he was really good at marketing?
Yeah,
films?
like marketing movies, and specifically like gimmicky stunts to promote movies was his forte. But he actually got bitten by the promoting bug, not when he was making movies, but when he was cutting his teeth in the theatre industry.
What play got him, into promoting?
Well, originally it was supposed to be an adaptation of the play Seventh Heaven in a theatre owned by Orson Welles. Via various shenanigans, Castle managed to, wangle a meeting with Orson Welles and convinced him to let him use his theatre. And according to legend, on his way out, he bumped into a German actress called this name here, because I'm not going to be able to pronounce it. And he asked her, would you like to appear in a play at the theatre owned by Orson Welles? To which she responded, well, of course I would. That sounds amazing. However, after all the details were hammered out with this actress about her appearing in the play, he found out that during peak theatre season, the starring role of a play could not go to a foreign-born actor. It had to be given to an American to encourage, the American theatre circuit, unless the play they were appearing in happened to be one that was tailored to suit a foreign star. So, for example, for a German-born actress, it would need to be a German play. And what Castle did is, rather than admit defeat, just told big lies and told the theatre, she's appearing in an adaptation of this play down here. Which
So you're not going to attempt it?
I'm not going to attempt that one. You just heard me try and pronounce it and it went poorly. A lie, I should note, that the theatre believed, despite this not being a real play that existed.
So obviously this play doesn't exist.
No, it does not.
So what did William Castle have to do to get around that?
What he did is he wrote a play under that name in English and then translated it to German in 2 days. And then he had a script, and that's the play that he put on. And at this point, I'm thinking, well, a play nobody's ever fucking heard of is not exactly going to, draw a crowd in. So you think, well, how is he going to get, a sellout crowd? It turns out the answer came in the form of a telegram from Joseph Goebbels. The Nazi guy.
So, what?
Yeah, it's probably a bit confusing, so I'll explain.
Yeah.
This actress had fled Nazi-era Germany and obviously sought asylum in the United States. And the German government apparently didn't know this, and she received an invite to Munich to watch a play or some shit from the desk of Joseph Goebbels. And Castle looked at that and went, here's an opportunity. And he wrote a letter back that basically told Nazi Germany to go and fuck itself. And what he then did is leak that letter to the press, who dutifully reported on it and started referring to the actress as the girl who said no to Hitler. Within days, everybody wanted to go see the play starring the girl who said no to Hitler, and it was a smash hit.
Well, I wasn't expecting that, to be honest.
Yeah, and that's the thing. This is the first thing he did, and he was cutting his teeth. So as you can imagine, the stunts became a lot more elaborate as he, settled into his career as a director of B-movies. And There's a bunch we can talk about, and we're going to start with, I think, one of the earliest ones he did that managed to, catch the attention of the public, and that was to promote a horror movie he just made. He took out a $1,000 life insurance policy on everybody who walked into the theatre in case they died of fright. And something similar he did for a later film was take a $1 million life insurance policy out on the film's star, which he then leaked to the press who reported on it.
So it doesn't really sound very interesting for a gimmick, really.
It doesn't, so I should point out that this star was a cockroach called Hercules for a film called Bug. As stupid as it sounds, don't you now kind of want to go watch that film, or at least go view clips of it to see what the fuck it's about?
I can tell by the look on your face that there's more stories.
There are, yes. So let's discuss The Tingler, which is another horror film directed by William Castle. And the basic plot is there is a parasite called the Tingler that burrows into your spine and feeds on fear and can only be stopped by screaming. The telltale way to know the Tingler's got you is that you'll feel a sharp vibration at the base of your spine.
Oh no.
So what Castle did is he went into certain theatres that were going to show the film and got a plane wing de-icer, which is basically that violently vibrates plane wings to get ice off them, and put them under several seats in the theatre. And then at a specific point in the film, they would vibrate. But it gets just a little bit better because during the film, Castle had the lead actor, Vincent Price, stop what he was doing and tell the audience that the Tingler is loose in the theatre as those things started to vibrate violently, and then encourage them to scream to get rid of it.
Ladies and gentlemen, scream for your lives. The Tingler is loose in this theatre, and if you don't scream, it may kill you. Scream! Scream!
I would be out there
Exactly.
away.
And imagine how many people went to see that film after they heard these stories.
So is there any more stories?
Well, of course, right. Before we get to, the hero of the hour, Mr. Skeleton, we can talk about one final gimmick that William Castle did, and that was a film that had two endings. And the reason I might give him big air quotes is because the film was advertised as giving the audience the choice of whether to forgive or punish the villain of the film. And what would happen is at a climactic point in the film, there'd be a short break, the fright break, during which it will be explained, the audience members now watching this can vote whether or not the villain is saved or punished, and then the film would play whichever ending the audience decided upon. You're probably thinking, well, that's impossible, how do they do that? And they didn't. There was only one ending film, and it was the bad ending. And what Castle reasoned was that we're going to make the villain so unsympathetic and just so unequivocally evil and horrendous that the audience will never want to forgive them. So we only need to film the bad ending.
You have made the decision, and the majority of you have sentenced Mr. Sardonicus to further punishment. Mr. Projectionist, let the sentence be carried out.
And bear in mind, this is 50 fucking years ago. This was ahead of its time. And even some of the simpler things he did, I think, would hold up as a gimmick today, like the film 13 Ghosts. And during that film, you will be handed out red plastic and blue plastic, just similar to 3D glasses, but not 3D glasses. And during certain points in the film, you could only see the ghosts if you put on the blue ones. And you could only see other ghosts put on the red ones.
When you see 13 ghosts, you'll be given a supernatural viewer like this, which will enable you to penetrate for the first time into the spirit world.
It's like Rocky Horror Picture Show, isn't it? Where you get to throw stuff at the thing, or where you go watch the screen of the room, and everyone just quotes along to the film. It's not a great film, but just that little extra gimmick makes it worth the cost of entry just to experience it, just for the novelty.
Such a good film, though.
They're oh man, it is so good. I'm even wearing a Tommy Wiseau-esque outfit today, so let's fucking do it. Fucking, I did not hit her. I did not. Oh hi, Nisha. Happy. But everybody is here to hear about a skeleton. So let's move on to perhaps the most famous gimmick from one of Castle's films, which occurred in the film House on Haunted Hill. And there is a scene in that film where the main bad guy tricks his wife into falling into a vat of acid by spooking her with a plastic skeleton that walks towards her like this and causes her scream in panic and fall into a big pool of acid. And what Castle arranged for theatre showing this film to do is have a plastic skeleton just like, secured on a rope somewhere in a dark corner of the theatre, and then as that scene happened, just the skeleton would just fly down at high speed towards the audience.
That would fucking terrify me, though.
It's so good.
It's like if when you're on a ghost train, it's really cheap and tacky, but you're on the edge of your seat. Anything will scare you.
Just things coming towards your face. It's basically just the 1950s equivalent of a jump scare. But eventually people cottoned on to this and people heard, there's a plastic skeleton that flies towards you during this film. So what kids would do is buy tickets to the film so they could throw things at the skeleton to try and knock it down. And obviously that kind of ruins the atmosphere, but William Castle didn't give a shit because they still bought a ticket. And I'm just now kind of disappointed that this is not a thing today. Because we have 3D.
Yeah.
And that stuff, we have 4D, but you know what we don't have? We don't have flying plastic skeletons.
What he should have done is, when people found out about the one skeleton, he should have sneakily put another one in a different corner of the room to get people from behind, because they'd be too busy looking at that one.
We did change where it's noted that he would go to theatres personally to set some stuff up, but obviously not every theatre could have that.
Yeah.
He did greatly enjoy watching people's reaction to his film, and that reminds me a lot of Spielberg, I think it is, when the first showing of Jaws, where he watched the test screenings. And the famous story here is, it's during the scene where Jaws comes out of the water.
Yeah.
He said all the popcorn flew up in the air. And that's how he judged whether or not it was scary. And the story goes that Spielberg didn't like how late in the film that scare came, so they went back and did reshoots. And you probably guessed already, Nisha, which scene they added to provide that jump scare.
Is it the one where the head falls out the boat?
Yes, which was filmed in one of Spielberg's friend's swimming pools, I think. And there's a quote from Spielberg which says, I went into a second screening, and the popcorn went higher for that jump scare, and I was like, yeah, that's it. I've done it. I've nailed it. And ordinarily, I hate jump scares because they're not scary. They're just surprising. It's like shouting boo at someone as they walk out through a door. They're not scared, they're just startled.
Yeah.
And I give a pass to the jump scare in Jaws of the Head Falls Down because a genuine sense of dread is felt because of the way they handled the music for that scene, because the head falls out before the music reaches a crescendo. So even now as an adult, when I'm watching that scene back, I'm still scared every single time because you can never tell when the head's going to pop out because the music doesn't tell you, because you're thinking, the crescendo's not come yet, and it comes to, it's so good.
It's like, because obviously music and sounds play a big part in horror, and you always get in horror films that sort of low hum.
I think that's infrasound it's called.
Yeah.
Which is it's inaudible frequency. It's very, very low sound.
You can just feel it.
And it's that thing where you're in a theatre and you can just feel like your body just shaking.
Yeah.
Or you can feel like it's an impending sense of dread. And fun fact, people might not know this, that sound occurs naturally in the world. And they've noted that it appears usually in basements of old buildings.
Scary
Scary
rooms.
The place where people feel like there's a ghost or they're being watched.
Yep.
And that's believed to be the explanation for why everyone thinks those places are haunted. Because there's just a naturally occurring example of infrasound which causes you to just feel uneasy.
I always feel weird in attics as well. I don't know what it is. It's probably a different sort of sound. But...
For me, it's I hate getting cobwebs in my head.
Ooh.
Oh, I fucking hate it. There is nothing that makes me jump more than when you walk under a tree and you feel a cobweb on you and you're like... when a bee just goes... One thing I will always be thankful for, do you know like phantom vibrations that you get?
Yeah.
Like when you feel like your phone's gone off and it hasn't?
Yeah.
I'm so happy that you don't get phantom vibrations in your ear and you just think of bees randomly flown past you. So I think that would be fucking horrendous. If just every now and again, you just